Hey guys, this is Jen from RBL Gaming bringing you a video of Search and Destroy on Berlin Wall, another map that I really don't like but did fairly well on. I had 16 kills and 3 deaths. I know it's been a long time since I've put up a video, but you know the kids are out for the summer. They go back in a couple weeks, and of course then I was taking care of my dad as much as I could. Dad passed away July 5th. The third week in June, he went into the hospital and he was diagnosed with pneumonia. They kept him a few days and then they sent him home. He knew he wasn't ready to go home. I knew he wasn't ready to go home. Everybody but the doctors. So my husband said as we were leaving there, he said, "Be prepared. You guys will probably be back here in a couple days." Oh, how right he was. The following Thursday, we got a call saying Dad was being taken back to the hospital by ambulance, and he couldn't sit up. So I, of course, drop everything and get to the hospital. When I got there were doctors all around him, nurses all around him. His blood pressure was sky high, higher than I've ever seen his blood pressure. I think they thought he was having a heart attack, but it turns out his heart was fine. I told the doctor, I said, his speech is slurred and this is not usually how he talks. Like, I couldn't even understand anything he was saying unless he screamed it. And he was getting so frustrated because we couldn't understand what he was saying, he would scream. So the doctor ordered a CT scan on his brain and also a CT scan on his chest because they wanted to see why his breathing was horribly bad like it had been. Which, if they would have done this the week before, maybe we would have had more answers. But anyway, they did the CT scan, and the CT scan on his chest showed he had a blood clot in his left shoulder that was heading towards his heart and his lungs. And they were very concerned about that. The CT scan on his brain showed what they thought was a brain bleed. Which made sense because his speech was slurred. We thought he had a stroke. I thought he had a stroke. Well, they said that they wanted to do an MRI and an MRA. And my dad was very hesitant. He didn't want any more tests. And I said, "Dad, you know, you can't go home tonight. Let them do the test. We'll see what they say, and then we'll go from there." So he said, "Fine, we'll do the tests." The MRI showed that the brain bleed, or what they thought was a brain bleed, was actually 2 aneurysms. The MRA, I could be confused on those. One showed that he had a couple brain aneurysms. The other showed that the cancer had spread to his brain. At that point, Dad knew that the chemo wasn't working anymore and that he was done being treated. He did allow them to do breathing treatments just to make him more comfortable, but other than that, he wanted nothing else done. The doctor wanted to go up through his groin and clip the aneurysm so they could treat the blood clot, but they wanted to send him to Ann Arbor, the University of Michigan Hospital, to do that, and Dad said no. I understood the risks, you know. Something was going to take his life, whether it be the blood clot, the aneurysms, the pneumonia. Something was just going to take his life, and he knew that, and he understood that he was just done, and I respected that. To be honest, I don't think he would have been strong enough to have any procedures done on him. I don't think he would have made it through that. I think he just wanted to spend his last days knowing that he fought as hard as he could, and that's all he could do. He was tired, and he fought hard for the last 13 and a half months. So we did what we could to make him comfortable. Saturday, we went in there to visit him, and his arms were all swollen, and it was all from the blood clot. His whole body was swollen. It was from the blood clot, and he looked bad. He looked straight at us kids, my brothers and I, and told us, be prepared. And to hear my dad say that, I still can hear it. It was like a dagger to my heart. My dad was the only one that never gave up hope. And at that point, I knew he gave up hope. He knew that the cancer had gotten the best of him and there was nothing more he could do. Sunday, we went in to the hospital to visit, and the nurse said that he had gotten up and walked to a chair and was sitting in his chair and feeling really good. And I thought, that's great. I mean, it was such a difference from the night before. He decided that day that he was going to go home. And I told him, I said, Dad, you're not ready to go home. And the nurse said, well, as long as he has somebody at his house that can take care of him, then he can go home. Well, his roommate said she would take care of him. And she's got a 2-year-old and she's busy and she couldn't be there for him 24/7 like he would need somebody. So I begged her. I'm crying and begging her, please don't take him home. Please don't take him home. I don't want my dad to die alone. And she said, Jenny, I can do this. And I said, I was begging her. I was just begging her. And the nurse told me, they've made their decision. You need to back off. Well, that was the wrong thing to say to me. You know, I'm talking about my dad. So the nurses refused to let me talk to Nicole anymore. So I got her alone, my sister-in-law and I just explained the situation to her. I said, you know, he's refusing treatment now. If you take him home and he begs you to call 911, you can't. You have to let him die. Or if you do call 911 and they put him on a ventilator, you have to decide when he comes off it. His life is in your hands. She said, I didn't sign up for that. I said, well, if you take him home, that's what you've signed up for. Long story short, I finally talked her into not letting Dad go home. We decided that hospice would be a better place for him because he would get the care he needed. If he was in pain, they could administer, morphine, whatever he needed to make him more comfortable. So we had to go and explain to him that, she decided that it would just be too much. And I don't think he was happy, but he understood. He decided at that point, he had Nicole, his friend, give me all his money to hold. So he started screaming at me. He wanted his money. And I explained to him he couldn't have money in the hospital. It wasn't safe. And he just got really, really pissed. I mean, the last couple days, he was just crabby. And I can't blame him. I mean, if you knew you were dying, you'd be crabby too, I guess. So we explained to him he couldn't have money. And then he decided he wanted cigarettes. And we told him he couldn't have cigarettes. And he was just all kinds of crabby. So we calmed him down, told him to get some rest, and we'd see him in the morning. Monday morning, I get back up there, and he tells me, I'm going home today. My friend's coming to pick me up. And I'm like, what? After all the drama we went through the day before, are you kidding me? He wasn't. He had the nurse convinced he was going home. I don't know why her dumb ass didn't read his chart, but yeah, he wasn't going home. He was going to hospice. We got him to hospice Monday night, which was the 4th of July. And he was very unhappy. He thought he was going to an apartment, and he said, this is not a damn apartment. So we took him for a tour to show him that it wasn't like this horrible place. It was actually really nice. And he went outside and he sat in his wheelchair and just sat there for about 45 minutes with the sun beating down on him. And then he said, I'm ready to go in. So we took him in. The nurse got him into bed, and as they were getting him into bed, she noticed that his knee was huge. And she pulled me out in the hallway and she said, that's a sign that your dad's getting close. She said, I don't think anything's going to happen tonight or even in the next couple days, but, prepare yourself. So I said, okay. So I went back into his room. Again, it was like a dagger to my heart. I didn't want to accept the fact that my dad was dying. I went back into his room and I was talking to him, and I said to him, Dad, I got to get going. I got to get the kids and, get them dinner, and I'll be back in the morning. And He said, I want my money. And I told him he couldn't have it there. And the nurse explained to him he couldn't have it there. And he told me, well, if I can't have my money, then I might as well die. And I said, Dad, don't say that. You know, if you need anything, we're going to get it for you. And then he said, well, then I want a beer. And I said, I can bring you beer in the morning, but you have to have the doctor's orders, which they were going to get. You know, they don't deny them beer in hospice. If they want beer, they can get drunk and whatever. But they have to have doctor's orders. So he was kind of upset about that. And then he said, this effing cancer, it just takes everything from you, doesn't it? And I said, yeah, it does. And I said to him, Dad, you fought this as hard as you can. Now you lay back and you let us take care of you. And he closed his eyes, and I told him, I said, I love you very much, and I'll see you in the morning. And I was walking out. I said to him again, Dad, I love you. The next morning, that night, I didn't sleep. My brothers didn't sleep. We were on Facebook, and my brothers called me and said that Dad only had, they were saying about 48 hours. And then at 7:30, I talked to my other brothers, and they're saying, or at 8 o'clock, he said less than 48 hours. I got up, took my husband to work, stopped to get the kids donuts. I get a phone call at 12 minutes after 9 saying, you need to get, your dad's breathing has changed. I said, are you telling me I need to get there? And they said, you need to get here as quickly as you can. I called his friend and said, you know, we got to get there. We got to get to hospice quickly. I took my kids to my mom's house. My brother was there, and I said, Randy, we got to go. And he said, what? And I said, they just called from hospice. We got to go. We flew. We ran red lights. We drove like maniacs. And we got about 5 minutes from the place, and my other brother had called me and said Dad had passed. And there was more stuff in between it, but I'm running out of time. So it's just been really hard. It's been a month and a few days, and it's just been really hard. Some days I'm okay, some days I'm not. But it helps when I talk about it, and I wanted to let you guys know why I haven't been around. Been trying to recover from all this, and I'll try to get more videos up. And I'm sorry if people, again, don't feel this is an appropriate place for YouTube, but it helps me to talk about it. And anyway, I want to thank you guys for being a part of my channel and sticking with me. And like I said, I'll try to get more up. Don't forget to check out our website, rblgaming.com. And if you're a smoker, please stop. I don't want to lose anybody else to cancer. So anyways, thanks again for watching, and have a good day.